In other news, the Hungarian situation is still not going that great. Hungary will not compromise with Ukraine and will use force to make Kiev resume oil transit from Russia through the Druzhba pipeline, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban announced. In turn, Zelensky openly threatened Orban while speaking at a meeting of the Ukrainian cabinet of ministers. A recording of his statement was distributed by the UKR Inform news agency. This is from TASS, by the way. TASS has compiled the key information on the situation with the Druzhba oil pipeline. Ukraine has denied entry to the Hungarian Government Commission established to determine the technical condition of the pipeline. According to the head of the Hungarian Prime Minister's office, the commission was formed by the order of the Prime Minister Viktor Orban. The commission is headed by the State Secretary of Ministry of Energy and also includes employees of the oil and gas company MOL, which uses Russian crude oil at its refineries in Hungary and Slovakia. Hungary believes Zelensky is blackmailing Budapest by blocking oil supplies through the Druzhba pipeline. On Wednesday, Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico showed journalists satellite images showing that the pipeline was undamaged. Zelensky made it clear that Ukraine will restore the Druzhba pipeline within 1.5 months, provided that the EU unblocks the 90 billion euro loan, which is what this is really all about. They want the money, and Hungary has blocked it. His statement at the meeting with the government was broadcast on the UKR Inform news agency website. He also noted that he does not intend to allow an independent commission to assess the condition of the pipeline. What a shock. Zelensky stated that he does not believe that the European Commission representatives distrust Ukraine's reports of pipeline destruction. Several EU countries pressured Ukraine to grant inspectors access to inspect the pipeline, but Kiev has refused, Politico reported. Hungary will not compromise with Ukraine and will force it to resume oil transit from Russia via the pipeline, Orban stated. He explained that he was referring not to military force, but to political and financial instruments with which to exert pressure on Ukraine. Budapest will seek the lifting of the oil blockade, and until this happens, will not approve any decision from Brussels in favor of Kyiv. Earlier, Hungary took retaliatory measures by stopping diesel fuel supplies to Ukraine. That was like 2 weeks ago, maybe? I don't know. Time's so weird. And refusing to allow the EU to grant it a 90 billion euro military loan. Hungary has also strengthened the security of dozens of critical energy facilities due to the possibility of sabotage and attacks from Ukraine, Orban said. During a meeting of the Ukrainian cabinet, Zelensky openly threatened Prime Minister Orban. The corresponding recording was distributed. They said that already. Zelensky stated that if Hungary blocks aid to Ukraine, he will hand over the address of the Hungarian Prime Minister to Ukrainian troops so they can call him and speak with him in their soldiers' tongue. That's hilarious. The EU is considering allocating funding for the restoration of the pipeline as part of its financial assistance to Ukraine, Bloomberg reported, citing sources. According to these sources, the EC may use budget funds allocated to support Kyiv for the pipeline's repairs. Furthermore, Brussels is ready to provide expert assistance for the restoration of the pipeline. The European Commission has recognized the validity of Slovakia and Hungary's efforts to have Ukraine restore oil supplies through the Druzhba pipeline, Robert Fico told reporters. Russian oil has not been flowing through Druzhba since January 27th. Earlier, TASS sources in the oil industry also reported that the Ukrainian side has already resolved the emergency situation related to the pipeline in the first half of February, but permission to resume its operation has not been granted. The Hungarian government stated that the pipeline had been restored and that Kyiv was blocking it for political reasons. The day before, Orban announced that a commission created by the Hungarian government would determine the state of the pipeline. In response to Zelensky's statements about blocking Russian energy supplies from entering Europe, Budapest noted that all energy facilities that use Russian energy supplies could become targets for Ukrainian sabotage. Now, so there's two pieces to this. One is Hungary and Slovakia are kind of up a creek because if they don't get this, they don't get fuel because they have no other sources of fuel, whereas like the Poles have water access, so we can ship stuff. The Hungarians and the Slovakians are pretty much totally reliant on that pipeline. And then the other thing is the Ukrainians have no gas of their own, so whatever they are getting which I know this doesn't really make a lot of sense because they're in the middle of a war. Whatever they are getting, they need for themselves. So there's kind of two pieces to this. And I mean, it's a long history. Ukraine sabotaged these things like for years, and there's been accusations of them siphoning off Russian gas that was supposed to be going to Europe for years. So this is very long, extended history of this fight, but this is the current situation.